Justin Haskins is here. He is the president of Our Republic and the editor-in-chief of StoppingSocialism.com. He is also the co-author with me of The Great Reset, Dark Future, and Propaganda Wars. So in other words, I'm saying he doesn't have a lot of credibility, but he is here to report. I don't even think you were wrong on this too with the tariffs, right?
Well, at some point I was wrong about everything.
Right,
so,
okay, yeah, right. We're all on the road to being right. But this is coming as a shock. You called yesterday and you said, Glenn, I think the tariff thing, I think the president might be right. And this is something I told him, if I'm wrong, I will admit that I'm wrong. But I don't think I'm wrong. Because this goes against everything that economists have said forever. That tariffs don't work. They increase inflation. It's going to cost us more. It's all of these things. You've been studying this now for a while to come up with the right answer, no matter where it fell. Tell me what's going on.
Okay, so the most recent inflation data, price data that came out from the government shows that in June, prices went up 2.7%. In May, they went up 2.4%. That's compared to a year prior. And most people are saying, well, this is proof that the tariffs are causing inflation. But when you actually start...
that inflation is... The target is 2. The target is 2. When I was saying that it was going to cause inflation, I thought, we could be up to 5%. But anyway, go ahead.
So the really incredible thing, though, is the more you look at the numbers, the more obvious it is that this does not prove inflation at all. For starters, these numbers are lower than what the numbers were in December and January, before Trump was president and before we had any talk of tariffs at all. So that is a big red flag right from the very beginning. When you dive even deeper into the numbers, what you see is that there's all kinds of parts of the consumer price index that track specific industries or kinds of goods and services that should be showing inflation if inflation is being caused by tariffs, but isn't. So, for example, clothing and apparel, 97%, basically, about 97%, according to one report, of clothing and apparel comes from overseas, is imported into the United States.
Correct.
So prices for apparel and clothing should be going up, and they're not going up. According to the data, they're actually going down compared to what they were a year ago. Same thing is true with new vehicles. Obviously, there were huge tariffs put on foreign vehicles, not on domestic vehicles, so it's a little bit more mixed. But new vehicle prices are staying basically flat. They haven't gone up at all, even though there's a 25% tariff on imported cars and car parts. And then when you just look at the overall import prices, you just sort of as in an index, which the government tracks, what we're seeing is that prices are basically staying the same from what they were a year ago. There's very, very little movement overall. No.
So wait.
Before tariffs are applied.
Let me just make something clear. Somebody's eating the tariffs, and it appears to be the companies that are making these things, which is what Donald Trump said. And then the economists always say, well, they're just going to pass this on in the price. Well, they have to get this money someplace. So where are they? Is it possible they're just doing this right now to get past because they know if they jack up their price, they're not going to be able to sell anything? What is happening? How is this money being coughed up by the companies and not passed on to the consumer?
Yeah, well, there's a ways this could be happening. I think the most likely scenario is that they are passing it along to consumers. They're just not passing it along to American consumers. In other words, they're raising prices elsewhere to try to protect the competitiveness with the American market, because the American market is the most important consumer market in the world. Wow. And they probably don't want to piss off Donald Trump either by jacking up prices and then potentially having tariffs go up even more as a punishment for doing that, because that's a real option. And so I think that's what's happening right now. Now, it's possible that we're going to see a huge increase in inflation in 6 months. That's entirely possible. We don't know what's going to happen. But as of right now, all the data is suggesting that recent inflation is not coming from consumer goods being imported or anything like that. That's not where the inflation is coming. Instead, it's coming from housing. That's part of the CPI data. Housing is the cause of the inflation right now. And
it's not housing, is it? Because, the things to make houses is not going through the roof, pardon the pun, right? It's not building.
No. The way the CPI calculates housing is really stupid. They basically look primarily at rent. That's the primary way that they determine housing prices.
Okay.
So they're not talking about housing costs to build a new house or housing prices to buy a house. They're talking about rent. And then they try to use rent data as a way of calculating how much you would have to pay if you owned a house, but you had to rent the same kind of house. And that's how they come up with this.
What the hell? Who's coming up with that formula?
Sort of underlying this whole conversation, as you and I know, Glenn, and Pat too, the CPI is a joke to begin with.
Right.
So there's all kinds of problems with this system to begin with. So, come on.
Okay, so because I promised the president, if I was wrong and I had the data that I was wrong, I would tell him. Do I have to, out of all the days to do this, do I have to call him today and do that? Are we still looking at this going, well, maybe?
I think there is a really solid argument that you don't need to make the phone call.
Oh, thank God. Today's not the day to call Donald
Trump.
Today is
not the day.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because we probably do need more data over a longer period of time to see if corporations are doing something in order to try to push these costs off into the future for some reason, maybe in the hopes that the tariffs go down, or maybe there's all sorts of ways they could play with it to try to avoid paying those costs today. So it's possible that's what's going on. But as of right now, that is not at all what is happening, as far as I can tell from the data.
But isn't the other side of this, because everybody else said, and it's not going to pay for anything. Didn't we last month have the first surplus since, I don't know, Abraham Lincoln?
Yes, we did. I don't know how long that surplus is going to last us. Probably not.
We had 1 month. I don't think I've ever heard that before in my lifetime. Hey, United States had a surplus.
I looked it up. I think it was like 20-something years ago was the last time that it happened, if I remember right. It was like 20-something years ago. So this is incredible, really. And if it works, and you and I have talked about this before, I actually think there is an argument to be made that this whole strategy could work if American manufacturers can dramatically bring down their costs to produce goods and services so that they can be competitive. And I think that advancements in artificial intelligence and automation is going to open the door to that being a reality. And if you listen to the Trump administration talk, people like Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, they have said that this is the plan. The plan is go all in on artificial intelligence, automation. That's going to make us competitive with manufacturers overseas. China is already doing that. They're already automating their factories. They lead the world in automation.
Yeah, but they could take they could take half their population, put them up on a plane, and then crash it into the side of the mountain. They don't care. What happens to the people that now don't have a job here? How do they afford the clothes that are now much, much cheaper?
Well, I think the answer to that is there's going to be significantly more wealth, trillions of dollars that we send overseas every year now in the American economy. And that's going to go into other things. It's not as though when new technology comes along, it's not as though people just lose their jobs and then that's it. They just sit on their couch forever. The real danger here is not that new markets won't arise in that situation. The problem, and jobs with it. The problem is, I think there's a real opportunity here. And I think this is going to be the fight of the next election, potentially, presidential election. And going forward, next 10, 20 years, this is going to be a huge issue. Democrats are going to have the opportunity when the AI revolution truly goes into full force. They're going to have the opportunity, like they've never had before, to say, you know what, we'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. We're just going to take all of the corporate money and all of rich people's money, and we're going to print trillions of dollars more, and you can sit on your couch forever, and we'll just pay you because this whole system is rigged and it's unfair, and you don't have a job anymore because of AI, and there's nothing you can do. You can't compete with AI.
Yes.
AI is smarter than you. You have no hope. I think that is coming. And it's going to be really hard for free market people to fight back against that.
Well, I tend to agree with you because I thought about this. I war gamed this probably 2006, and I'm thinking, okay, if the tech is going to grow and grow and grow, and they're going to they'll be responsible for taking the jobs. They won't be real popular, so they're going to need some people that will allow them to stay in business and to protect them. So they're going to need to be in with the politicians. And if the politicians are overseeing the decrease of jobs, they're going to need the PR arm of things like social media and what can be done now. I was thinking at the time, like what Google can do, but they need each other. They must have one another. Unless we have a stronger foundation and a very clear direction, and I will tell you, the president disagrees with me on this. I said he's going to be remembered as the transformational AI president. And he said, I think you're wrong on that. And I don't think I am. This time period is going to be remembered for transformation, and he is transforming the world, but the one that will make the lasting difference will be power and AI. Agree with that 1,000%. Or disagree?
1,000%. This is by far the most important thing that's happening in his administration in the long run. If you're projecting out 10, 20, 30 years, they will be talking about this moment in history 1,000 years from now.
Yeah, they will.
Like that will happen. And they will, and if America becomes the epicenter of this new technology, they will be talking about it 1,000 years from now, about how Americans were the ones that really developed this, that they're the ones that promoted it, that they're the ones that took advantage of it. That's why this AI race with China is so important that we win it. It's one of the reasons why. And I do think it's a defining moment for his presidency. Of course, the problem with all of this is AI could kill us all. And so, you have to weigh that in.
Yeah, right. Right. Well, we hope you're wrong on that one. And I'm wrong on it as well. Justin, thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the out where I don't have to call him today, but I might have to call him soon. Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it.